When was it built and who was the architect?
The building was started in 1921, finished in 1927. Arthur Burnett Benton was the architect. And
The original architect.
the original architect, yes. They ran out of money 3 times, had to stop construction and raise money again, start construction. And finally in 21, they actually got it open to the public. I mean 27. It's math. Everywhere in here, the ceilings are all plaster except these east to west, more or less, beams. Those are actually wood, but everything else, this balcony of course is wood, but in here and in the main theater is all plaster. And in 95, we had, starting with the 87 earthquake, we had 3 earthquakes, ending with, I think, 89 with the Sierra Madre quake. And it had been, the ceilings had been repaired and the walls 3 times. Well, by the time we got to the 89 quake, you could see where all the patches were fading differently. So in 95, the whole building was shut down. We went through a huge retrofit of earthquake, seismic, restoring the ceiling inside, new electrical to the building, new air conditioning. It was a huge rehab. And so at that time, everything was redone as original.
We've had some people stop by.
Not as many as you would think, though.
You know, it's one of these sort of hidden gems that not as many people.
It's all steel. The whole ceiling that's above us, and we can go up in the attic. It is all supported by wires about 3 times the thickness of coat hangers. Hundreds of them, and it's what they called a floating ceiling. And the idea was that when the building moved, the ceiling would float. I mean, it's really attached at the edges, but the idea was that it wouldn't buckle. You know, in '87 it was pretty bad, but it was only 35% that went, and it was pretty much where, especially at this end of the theater, because this is tighter down there. There's more room. This is more joined together. It was these big beams where the chandeliers are. The plaster had come out. It was the big deal back then. I mean, people would come on the red cars from LA, Hollywood, that whole area, just to see this play. I mean, it was kind of the Cats or Phantom of the Opera or, what have you. Plus it was a real field trip because it was a 4-hour play, plus the time it took you to ride on the cars. So, it was an outing. And it was a big deal.
You always wonder if Cecil B. DeMille came out to see it.
It wouldn't surprise me. There's nothing documented, but, I'm sure everybody did.
Yeah, maybe.
Just the spectacle aspect.
Yeah,
and,
sure. And Tyrone Power played the lead, senior, and I mean, there were...
Frederick Ward.
Which were Hollywood royalty.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Del Valles.
Yeah.
The story had always been that the ghost, we referred to him as Uncle John, for John Steven McGroarty. We put him in programs, the whole thing. So this was probably 1974, I think, or maybe 5. Bill Shaw, our old manager, was working the fly rail for, I think it was Rio? Mount Sac High School, I think. They were doing a production of Peter Pan musical. And Bill was over at the fly rail, and a lady comes in onto the landing. She's got her suitcase, and she sets it down. No one ever, knew her. They just figured she might be with the show. She looked right up to the drop up there, and she starts talking to... And Bill, he's just looking at this lady, and finally he says, "Excuse me, ma'am." He says, "Do you see someone up there?" And she says, "Why, yes." She had come from England. There's a bloke sitting on the end. He's holding on the rope, and he's kicking off from the wall, wearing a tweed coat. And Bill said, "Okay, would you, if you saw a picture, could you identify this person?" And she said, "I think I can." So at the time, the manager was Rulon Gardner, who had his office up front. So he took her up there, and Rulon had books of pictures and whatnot. And she starts going through it, and she says, "That's him right there."
Well, they had first showed her a picture of John Steven McGroarty.
Well,
Yeah.
Is this him?
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
And so.
And then so she identified, and Bill looked at Rulon, and Rulon said, "That's Marcus Aguilar, who was the stage manager for the Mission Play. He'd done props for the Mission Play." And then the lady said, "But there's only one problem." She says, "I cannot make out his face. It's all blurry." Well, it turns out that Marcus Aguilar purportedly, I don't know if it's true, on the way to take the Mission Play on the road, decided he didn't want to leave San Gabriel, whatever, turned around. On his way back, he got in a traffic accident, rear-ended a construction truck, and a bundle of pipe or rebar hit him in the face and killed him. So Rulon, when she said that, Bill said he just turned white as a sheet, and so at this point, that's who, based on that lady, is the ghost. Not Uncle John, but
We still call him Uncle John.
we still call him Uncle John because it's easier. It's more fun. Tony Heinsbergen is the gentleman that did the restoration of the ceiling the first time after the 87 quake. And his dad, back in the day, that was his trade, was doing theater ceilings. He came in and looked at it and he says, "This is my dad's work, I know it." So at the time he had an office in Beverly Hills. He went back, looked through all the archives, couldn't find anything that talked about this, but he said, "I know this is my dad's work." He says, "I know he did it." So, I mean, it was a labor of love for him. Came in, he brought in, what was the guy's name? Old guy that came in, because this texture is a lost art. Getting this kind of knockdown, and he had a guy who at the time I think was in his late 70s. I want to say his name was Walter. Good name. But he came in and he did the walls, and I mean, they looked, because all the guys I showed around, they said, "Wow, this, I don't know, this rough texture is a knockdown kind, and all the old plaster's different than the new, and I don't know if we can get it that way." He came in, did it.
Knew how to do it.
Knew how to do it. They, all of our pretend wood beams, they're all plastered with the marks to give it the effect of wood grain, and got all of those perfect. I mean, it was so exciting because we thought it'll never be the same, and he was actually able to get some of the original tradespeople that did that.